So we said that there are two ways to think about where language comes from. The first would be that evolutionary perspective we talked about. The second would be how language changes over time. And that's really historical linguistics. So historical linguistics or historic linguistics looks at how languages are developing over time and how language changed over time. So this became kind of a common topic in the 18th century through philology, which is actually just the comparative study of ancient texts and documents. So looking at texts and documents from ancient cultures and comparing them, looking at how they were similar and different. So Grimm starts to hypothesize that maybe the similarities between different European languages were actually because they used to be one language and over time had shifted and branched into other languages. And so this is actually correct, right? This is the theory we all use today, is that languages have come from proto-languages. So these are hypothetical ancestral languages that have to be ancestral of two or more living languages. So if we say German and French and English are all pretty similar, or German and English are very similar, then there's going to be a shared proto-language there that comes from a common ancestor. And this sounds very evolutionary in nature, and that's because it kind of is, right? There's a common ancestor language, which is the proto-language, that has evolved or changed and developed into multiple languages as it branched and changed throughout time. And so that's historical linguistics, how language is changing through time. And so to kind of recreate a dead language, what we can do is pretty similar to how we identify evolutionary characteristics outside of language, but if we have two words in two different languages that are the same or sound very similar, then we can hypothesize that their proto-language shared that same word. So these are called cognates. So these are two languages that show the same sound shifts in both, or words that show the same sound shifts in two separate languages. Okay, and so this would indicate that common ancestry or common linguistic ancestry. So if you know multiple languages or you studied multiple languages, you are aware of these. They're direct cognates that are exactly the same, just said slightly differently in different cultures, and they mean different languages, and they mean the same thing. Okay, so English, German, and Dutch are unintelligible from one to the next, but they all came from Proto-Germanic language. Okay, and so they shared that ancestor, and so that's why we can see these common words or these cognate words. There are also going to be some non-genetic language changes, so these are languages not based on descent or change through time. So this would be if people are multilingual, they can kind of start to influence the different languages that they speak in terms of sounds, words, syntax, and grammar. Okay, so what this mostly represents is going to be similar to diffusion. So we can kind of diffuse language terms or sounds of different languages from one culture or one language to another. And we're also going to see kind of variations on the same sounds in different languages. So different pronunciations of the sound R or letter R in different parts of the world or different parts of a single country. Okay, and so you can see these things diffuse and move from place to place and culture to culture if they're speaking the same language already. So this figure from a different textbook is just showing that wave theory of sounds and things diffusing like a wave through different parts of the world. So this is specific, the French R sound being spoken differently throughout different parts of Europe there.